Okay, I believe we are live. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Nonfiction Book Club. I'm Deboki. This is my channel. I even now post videos on it every once in a while. Otherwise, it's mostly just Nonfiction Book Club.
Hi, and I'm Nicole. I don't know if you can see me messing with it. I'm trying to make myself not be so whatever color I am right now.
Nicole's like actually directly in front of the sun right now. Like, she is reporting.
I'm streaming live from the sun, from the surface of the sun.
If we like turn the camera around, it would just be 30 like suntan beds like in front of you.
And my blinds are closed too. What if I flip them the other way? Maybe that. Okay, hold on. Bright.
Ooh, I think that's gonna be better.
Thank you for joining us in our technical, whatever. Is that? It's a little better.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know.
It definitely seems a little better, and it's still like you're directly in front of the sun.
That's fine.
I've been like thinking about emo music a lot this week, and so now I'm like just have thrice stare at the sun like stuck in my head, so it's fine.
Nice. Yes. Good.
Anyways, we're here for book club. That's the thing we're doing. We are here to talk about Performance All the Way Down. Nicole has to like go back. There we go. We can see it. By Richard O. Prum. This is one of the rare subtitles that like actually doesn't really tell us a lot. It's genes development and sexual difference. Like that is what the book is about, but like usually
that's it. That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's like our bit.
We're like, what is the book about? We just told you. But luckily, I do think this book has a very succinct thesis, or a very succinct summary, a way of summarizing it, which is that the goal of this book is to apply the queer feminist theory of performativity to biology to understand variation. Well, to understand variation is like secondary. It's really primarily the goal is to apply the queer feminist theory of performativity to biology. That is like the thing that I have repeated to myself over and over and over throughout this book as I've been reading it. And I'm so curious like how everyone else has like experienced this book, because it's been a really interesting experience for me. I listened to it on audiobook and also have been still working my way through the physical copy, because like I just know that I have to like go back and like process things. But like I feel like there's like two really big halves to this book. There is the biology half, and then there is the theory of performativity half. And I have a lot of familiarity with the first half and like very little familiarity with the second. And so that's made for an interesting reading experience.
I had the exact opposite experience.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, which is really interesting. One of the thoughts that I had really early on is like we talk sometimes, and another kind of recurring, memes, built-in memes to our little book club here is the I'm like tweeting about this is why I'm staring at my phone. I'm telling the people elsewhere on the internet that they should come hang out with us. We've talked about books that feel like they are in more, or like sometimes one of us will pick a book and we'll be like, oh, this was really like, I'll pick a book and we're like, oh, this is a Deboki book, or Deboki picks a book, we're like, oh, this is really actually more of a Nicole book.
Yeah.
And every now and then we talk about books that are like that exist at the intersection. I think this is the most at the intersection that we have ever. And specifically what this is the most at the intersection of kind of the original project. I think that like we've drifted from the original project in many ways, but like for me, when I talked about like why I wanted to do this nonfiction book club, it was like missing grad school was like the vibe.
Right.
Like this is the first time that we've read a book that, whether factually or not, plausibly could have been assigned to both of us in school. We both could have been assigned this book.
Yeah. So except for the fact that like an engineering school would never have me like engage with the real world, like social consequences.
Stinky.
But exactly. Like this, like maybe another way of saying that is like this is a book that like covers a huge part of like the textbooks that I read in school. And it is also a book that covers a huge part of the textbooks that you read in
Yes.
school. And
Yeah.
it just like is like bam. Like they are now one.
The discussion, the much of the discussion for me is really going to come down to how well do we feel that he merged them.
Yeah, and that's what's really hard for me. And like that's part of why I'm still like like usually we do this book club and I'm like, cool, we read this book, moving on. I'm still like gonna be working my way through. Like I just know like I'm gonna spend the next week finishing up reading the physical copy because I have so many things that I need to like go back and like annotate and think through because like I think there's like I think there's a lot of really interesting ideas in the book. And I think like that question though of how well they're all put together is it's not that I think it's bad. It's like that I still don't really fully know. And part of it is because I really don't know how to think about the the performativity theory side. Like I don't know. I have no way to think about how he applies that. So for me, the questions are all like that I feel more confidence in, or like not even confidence, just like that I feel like I know how to engage with more, are more on the side of like how he's applying it. And on that side I think it's like really good, and I think there's like a lot of interesting things there that get at things that I've been frustrated with in biology. Like he talks like if we go back to like the memes of nonfiction book club, we talk all the time about like the idea of systems, like that we need to think about things on a systems level, and that is like a big like outcome of this book is like thinking about systems biology in particular. And that's a field that like I was really interested in grad school. Like that was something that I was like really like that, I don't know, just like shaped a lot of how I thought about biology. But I think like he says there's not like a good coherent framework of systems biology. Like it is this idea of how do we think about this really vast complicated thing that is biology at a systems level, like moving beyond just individual reactions. And so I like the way that this book applies a language that could be applied to systems biology, but I don't know how to think about where the origin of that language comes from and like what it means to apply it in biology, because I don't like know the like the feminist theory, the queer theory, like the origins well enough to engage with it critically, and especially to think about that like as almost like to what extent would we think of it as like appropriation, like are we divorcing it from some of the original social context in a way that matters.
That's interesting. That's a really interesting question. I mean, I do actually feel pretty strongly that the answer to that is no, though that like it's not being, however, that being said, I really, it's such an interesting one because like this is a book that I would recommend. And yet I was just, getting ahead of myself. That's it. We'll circle back to that. But I also feel like, I don't know how to describe the experience that I had and whether I actually, like, what did I learn?
Yeah.
Because like I just felt like my eyes were glazing over through really most of the biology, which is actually most of the book, like 75
Right. Yeah.
biology.
Yeah.
And I was just like, as you're describing like parts of genes and time, I'm just like, sure, dog.
Yeah. I mean, that is like also like, I mean, if we like just think of like the book itself as its own like work, it's funny because I was like, I'm really curious how he approached writing the book. Like, who did he think of as his target audience? Because I imagine it must have been really hard to construct, to be like, is this a social theory book for biologists or is this a biology book for social theorists? Like, I like, because I imagine like the theory side that he's explaining, like my assumption is that like it's relatively basic for a lot of people who are coming from that world.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
then the biology side, on the other hand, like for me, I glazed over it, but more because I was like, I don't need you to explain to me like how gene transcription works, like, which is fine. Like that's not a criticism of the book, but it's just like that's such a funny thing that it has to balance. Like I think this was a book that like to your question about like it was hard to know what you learned from it. Like I think that is one of the things that I've struggled with, like in terms of like all like talk to my husband, to Nathan, and be like, this is what we're reading. Here's the cool thing I learned about, right? And with this book, it was kind of hard to put some of that into words, because it's like, I think that a lot of, like, it sounds like I'm being critical of the book, and that's not what it is. It's just that I think the experience of reading this book is very different from the experience of reading a lot of other books, because I think it's so much, especially the ones that we do for Nonfiction Book Club, because it's, the argument is not about like, this is the way the world works. It's more, this is a framework that we can be using to talk about biology, and it would be more productive. And I think that's true, but also because the world that he's dealing with, it's like almost so like the main thing, like I think that he's like, especially in this book, he's like using it to talk about sexual difference, and to talk about like why sexual variability is a thing, but also like that is just like inherently a function of the fact that biology is super it's not even messy, because I think that's like the goal of the book. It's just to say like all of these things are interacting with each other, and like they're not deterministic. Like that is like a fundamental aspect of the book. I don't even know where I'm going. It's just, I think that's part of the problem, because, or not part of the problem, it's part of what's hard about it, because it isn't about the fact that like there is a set process. It's more about the fact that there aren't set processes. And so we need a different way to talk about biology than what we've currently been doing.
Well, and the thing about the book is that it's to this question of like, okay, well, what did you learn? Is that the book isn't, I don't think that he would find that to be a disappointment. Like that tracks what his
absolutely.
That I don't have like a cute fun fact that I can pluck out and say I learned this fact, because the project of this book is a way of thinking. The project of this book is to get you to think about the thing differently. And in that respect, like I feel like, let's see, I actually literally right before this, I was on a meeting with, we call it Science House Quarterly. It's a meeting with me and the SciShow editorial director, and then the EP and editorial director of the Greenhouse shows. And so we had a meeting, and I mentioned offhandedly like this book, and I was like trying to describe it, and I was like, okay, like I was getting anxious, like I was thinking in my head about this conversation, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say to Deboki, because like so explaining the book to them, and I was like, okay, I was like, what I think that like the crux of this book is that is using like the theory of performativity and those concepts as a framework to explain why sex and gender, like biological sex, is a much more active process than we think of it, that it is a becoming, that's very much like performativity, whatever, but it's a becoming in a way that is like different than how we think about it. And so like, I don't know, there's like, it's this like way of thinking piece of it that's interesting. I would be curious to maybe go back and read it. Like I read it the once and sort of have it like kind of wash over me. I ended up doing most of it on audiobook. I have a lot going on right now, and I'm just like, I actually really need to clean my house. And just sit here. I have to get up and clean my house. And First.com is going to narrate about gene transcriptions.
Yay.
Vacuum. But anyway, where was I going with this? I had the experience of like letting it wash over me, and now that I feel like I understand what it was doing, it would be interesting to go back and like read it again, now that like I have the project.
Because I think like one of the things too is I think like he also is like figuring out what this means. Like this book is about like clearly him like engaging academically, intellectually with like a corner of engaging with like a corner of the intellectual world that is like new to him, and seeing what he can like, how he can bring it to biology. And I think a lot of it for me was really just cool, because like I've always liked the idea of combining the humanities and the sciences, but I don't actually know how to do that. Like I don't know what that looks like. So for me, this was like a really interesting introduction to that, and I get the sense that it was also for him a really exciting and like productive introduction to that. Like I assume like 5-10 years from now he'll have another version of this book that maybe is like taking it to a different place.
Yes. Yeah. It's where like, because the whole point is to sort of set up something procedural, and like how you're in how you're thinking about these things, and to invite other people to also sort of engage in this way.
Right.
Is like kind of the point, which I will say that is one piece of this to me is like who this book is for. It feels definitely more for biologists than like that.
Yeah, I think
at the end of it, like the exhortation is for biologists to say, hey, use this framework more, basically, when you're thinking about your work and your science.
Right. Yeah, and I mean it's interesting because actually one of the notes I wrote down, it was like must have been like chapter 2 or 3, was like the question that the last chapter is like actually about. I was like, where did I put it? It's like, yeah, like anyways, the exact question that I like asked myself at one point with this book was just like, this seems really cool, but like what does this actually mean in practice? Like what does this look like in terms of the questions that you're asking scientifically? Like how does this change the way that you approach? Like it's one thing to have like a different language. What does it mean to actually like apply that in the lab? Like what does that mean for the questions you ask? How does it mean for how you ask them, how you test them, like all of that? And so that is like what the last chapter is like all about, which was really cool. Like I think that's like kind of what this book needs, to make it like be about more than just like, oh hey, I found a new language to talk about biology.
Right.
Like I think that's like a really key part of it. But again, I'm still like processing that.
Yes. Yeah. And like, and it's hard because it's the like that hasn't happened yet. So it's like he's like it's positing it as like this is what should happen, but so it's hard without the like the concrete examples of what it will look like in practice.
Right. Yeah. So I think like for people who are like haven't read the book, maybe like a way to understand like what he's talking about is sort of like he frames a lot of this as like biological, like the biological entities, like a gene, these different proteins, hormones, they're all like he calls it interacting. It's like a phrase from another scientist who he cites a lot. I think it was Barad is the one scientist who was like describing interactions, and she talks about it in the concept in like the context of physics, but he's really taking a lot of the ideas that she's used in the world of physics and trying to apply it in the world of biology. So basically, this idea that the way that the way these different entities, these different like biological entities are interacting with them is like a type of discourse. There's like a way in which these, he calls it interactions, are like a constant state of, like as you were saying, becoming. And so it's just like this thing that like that's the performance all the way down, that it's like all the way down to like our genes and everything. And so it's, some of it is like the idea that Dawkins has applied of like the selfish gene, and like, but like really just trying to say that the gene is not enough to understand. Like you have to understand biology as like all of these other entities that are also interacting with each other and like creating these different phenomena, like building on each other and also interacting with the world around them. And so I think that's like all really cool. And again, like I still am struggling with like articulating it and articulating my understanding of it because it makes sense to me. And also like I think it makes sense for describing biology because the thing that I liked about it, and especially like the thing that I think is important about it in terms of the context he talks about here of like sexual variation, is that like things are not essentialist. Biology is like not the pursuit of a destiny. It is a thing that is constantly like changing. Like it is inherently always changing. Like that is like what biology does. It evolves. And so I think that's like a really helpful framework for changing our language around that. And I think one of the things that really for me I really enjoyed about this book is coming from like the science writing side. One of the things that I understand why people discourage this, but like a lot of times you'll be like discouraged from writing about science as if like a protein is like a real thing that can make decisions, which he's not doing. He's not saying like these proteins are making decisions, but it's like a concept in this book is the idea of agency, and that these like entities have agency, and it's not agency in the sense of like a conscious choice, but it is a agency in terms of these interactions, in terms of just like this becoming that they are carrying out phenomena. Like, and I really enjoyed that, and I feel like that is a thing that like is going to shape my writing probably going forward. I don't know how yet, but I really enjoyed it.
There are places where, like, yes, yes, these questions of agency. That is one of the things that I have been thinking about a lot. Was just in the prologue, but when he talks about how, like, part of how he came to this. So, like, his background. If you haven't read the book, he's a bird guy. He's just this old. You should look up a picture of him too.
I love the idea that someone's coming to nonfiction book club having not read this book. Like, we've both done this. Like, I was also like, just for anyone who hasn't read it. Like, I assume if you're here,
listen.
Maybe you read the book, but maybe not.
We're trying to be good hosts, Demoki. But I think okay, also, if you're, as communicators, if we're trying to, like, ground the stuff that we're about to talk about, it's worthy of, like,
summarizing
and like clarifying, grounding ourselves in the conversation. So for anyone who didn't read the book, he's a bird guy, and you should look at a picture of him. He's a, like, older white man who loves birds, and it's so funny to think about this guy who just, like, is so fucking into birds, and, like, in his writing about birds, he's like, I feel like we're kind of doing something wrong in how we think about the sex in biology, and like, one of the, like, tipping point, like, the things that got him down this rabbit hole in the first place was ducks, was rape in ducks. For what forced copulation is the phrase that biologists like to actually use, because they don't want to use the R word with ducks, because of the sort of violence associated with that, and, like, that being seen as sort of a uniquely human phenomenon. But, like, also female ducks are evolving to adapt to like evolving defensive strategies for dealing with this aggressive behavior in male ducks that is also not seen as, like, normative, right? Like part of the idea there is that this is non-normative behavior in ducks. It happens, but the female, whatever, like, in all of that. And so his whole thing is basically, like, that this language of, like, okay, we can't use this other word, we have to use that word. There's, like, you're, like, missing something by avoiding that, by, like, these language debates are actually not accurately capturing what is happening in ducks because of this sort of language thing. And that, like, again, there are ways that we differentiate out. There's, like, weird human culture stuff, and then there's biology. And, like, that is part of what got him to this place of, like, no, I don't think that's true. Like, I think that the culture stuff and the biology stuff have to be much more integrated than they are. I don't know. I think about this duck thing has been, like, percolating in my head a lot as, like, it's just in the prologue. It's like not, but it's like interesting in that it's part of what got him here. It's like what got him down this road.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And I think one of the things about the book that I think was also, like, interesting to me, like, against, like, the backdrop of my own training, is, like, he really is going hard against, like, not, like, super critically, but, like, he is critical of it, sort of like this, like, trend in biology towards being, like, reductionist around genes in particular, like tracing everything to genes. And, like, that's something that I, like, totally understand, because that's kind of what my, like, education was like, very, like, I was engineering genes, so, like, I thought that was interesting, and it actually made me I don't know, I'm just, like, now in, like, a associative place. Like, it made me think about way back when I was working on Journey to the Microcosmos. We had a conversation with James, with our microscopy guy, with his mentor, and she was telling me about how one of the things that's kind of fascinating slash sad to her, I guess, about the field now of, like, microscopy and microbiology in general is, like, a lot of people will work with these organisms and they'll know, like, everything about the genes, but they'll, like, not even be able to tell you what the organism looks like, because they just, like, are, like, everything is abstracted away to the genome, like, everything is the genes. And that was a thing, like, one of the things he like talks about multiple times in this book is, like, the fact that a lot of biology work right now is done on these strains, these animal strains that are, like, super tightly genetically controlled, like super, like they have like a constant genome basically. Like that's the point of them, is they've been bred to be used for science by like taking out this huge source of variability. And like one of the things that I wondered, and like, I mean, this is more like generally wondering, is like maybe like I'm curious because I mean, he talks about evolution, so I'm assuming that's part of his like work, but it's maybe looking at genome stuff. But I'd be really curious about how much of his work is also more observational, like stuff, because I feel like that's like a different aspect of science that like would force you to abstract away from the genome, that would like force you to be like, hey, I'm studying these things at a level that's not just like what's going on in the genes. It's also like engaging with the behavior and the variability like as it exists in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that was a stream of consciousness. Like, I'm excited to talk about this book because I feel like I needed to talk through this stuff out loud, and I'm worried that people who are watching it are gonna be like, these people like don't know what they're talking about, and like that's the point. Like, I'm just here to like process out loud what it is that I've experienced with this book.
Thank you for coming to book club, where we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. But I feel that Richard O. Prum would support us.
I think so. Yeah. So, okay, I have questions for you then. Like, just maybe broadly, like on the social theory side, like, were there things that stood out to you? Or like, I don't know, like, how does this stack up with like, I don't know, how are these ideas like taught in the schools?
Let's see, like the way that he is writing the like that section at the beginning feels very much that was like a damn, I'm back in school.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's very heavy on the like the structure of the writing was so funny to me for that reason, and that like there's just like a my biggest like criticism of the book, my biggest problem with it is that just in general, there's like an information density issue of like, it's too much. It's like in places where it's like, I need you to, that's maybe a me thing. That's a me thing. I'm not going to.
I think it's an audiobook challenge. Like, I do think this is like a hard book to do, on an audiobook.
Yes, I agree. Which in turn makes it me thing. I'm not going to. Bird Grandpa will not be held accountable. Will not be held responsible.
I like these bird.
Yeah, he's just a sweet old man who loves birds and. My actual favorite part of the book is I honestly cannot tell you what this is meant to be a metaphor for. Like, what was the point of this? I don't remember. It has something to do with like things changing, but where he's like as an example, 30 years ago, I was playing catch with my son and he said, "My bad." And I had to say, "Huh?" Because I had never heard the words "my bad" before. Like, that was a new expression for me.
Yeah.
And I just loved that.
Yeah.
I'm so charmed. I'm endlessly charmed, but I don't know. I don't know why I have cast this man into this like he's a sweet old grandpa. Is what he is. Because he just loved birds. He was so into birds, and then they were talking about the ducks being sexually assaulted, and he was like, "I don't like the way we're talking about these ducks."
Yeah.
And I'm going to read a whole bunch of queer theory now to figure out why it's bad talking about the ducks this way. I think it's great. I think that's awesome. Even if I didn't understand the book, I think that's fucking awesome. And so I'm a Richard O. Prum stan now. Your question was about the theory and how it was being talked about. I don't know. It was a lot of like, yep, that's performativity. I also appreciated the distinction he did with like performativity and performance. You do have to be really careful in like social science writing about how you're using those words. He mentions offhandedly mentions Irving Goffman in this book as well, who I have definitely talked about Goffman on previous nonfiction book club, because he's also like a very important social theorist, and he's gotten, every time Goffman gets a citation, this is like a pour one out for me. I cited him a ton in my thesis. Goffman is performance management in everyday life. So his book is about how he's uses a lot of like theater terms. There's like front stage, backstage setting, just to sort of talk about how people manage presentation in everyday life and like performance in that kind of way. Anyway, it was like a note that I got early on in like an early draft of my thesis, of like places where I got language mixed up and I used the word performativity at some point in my thesis, and that was like you cannot use that word, because that's not, I was never dealing with Butler performativity. I was only dealing with performance. And so like that's
interesting.
really important. And it's funny because to that end, I did not realize that that's what we were talking about, performance. I fully misunderstood what this book was going to be until I read it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I see now." I was thinking about performance in the way that in like the other way. By the time he got to that explanation, I was like, I was already there. I was with it. I had I did appreciate that little section, because I was like, yes, this is really important to the social theorists. And you get really specific. Performativity is a Butler term, and like specifically, it's about like the action. It's about the again, like the becoming of the thing is baked into the performance of the thing. Like those two things, it's not you are one thing and then you and like, but you're performing another, which is actually kind of more the Goffman thing. But it's you become a woman by performing woman. Like that's that's the idea.
I don't. So like, would this be a way of saying it where it's like, it's not just like the character that you see, it's also like the process of like becoming that character.
The process is part of it, which, so like in that sense, I was like, I get what he's putting, even I do not understand any of the biology. Like that was a through line that I was like, I get what you're putting down kind of over and over again, that all of these that I do not fucking understand, but you're describing over and over again ways in which aspects of biology are making sex, are making and that, like, whatever the how the Y chromosome thing has to happen first, and like that, like there's a moment where that cell thing, some combination of waters kick in and do that thing and say make a Y chromosome and not a second X or whatever. But it's active. The active process of it is part of the identity.
Yeah. And I think like kind of as you were saying it, one of the things that I was thinking about, one of the things that I liked about this book, I think like I feel like definitely like in SciComm, science writing world, like there's sort of like the standard response to like when people to try to like boil down sex in particular to like a binary like biological fact, and everyone's like, that's not true. Like that's absolutely not true. It's not true in nature. It's not true in humans. Like it's not true. And so I think there's like that, like obviously immediate need to just sort of like address the fact that like scientifically not true. But one of the things I liked about this book is I feel like he's kind of taking it like 10 steps from there to just like get to a more fundamental language around biology that would hopefully, theoretically, I don't think it's going to like solve the transphobes of the world, but like it is hopefully going to help like push biology in a better direction in terms of both like the language culturally, but also even the language scientifically. I don't know, there's just something about like moving 10 steps past just like scientifically, like nature is variable, like that was like I really like that.
Yes. Yes. Sorry,
he does sort
I got through my line.
Nicole's got to get some Coachella tickets.
I've been sitting in the my little man. I got you on the screen, and my little man has been doing this. And in the middle of you talking, I like going back, seeing this later. You will see the moment my eyes got real wide because it made a loud. I guess it didn't. You couldn't hear it, but my computer made a loud noise in the middle of you talking. I was like, what is going on? Because it was telling me that my little man reached his destination. So
little man.
Bear with me while I give all of my money to fucking Golden Voice.
Yep.
Because I have a problem. Which is that I love this stupid festival.
You're an OG.
I am an OG. I actually should be getting comped at this point.
Yeah.
20 Coachellas. This was my 20th Coachella. Just and more years than that because they've skipped some and whatever. Yeah. So I started going in 2003.
Wow.
2003. Yeah. It was a different festival, different. I guess I'll just pay in full. And they have a payment plan. And I stood in the special American Express cardholder line. My little man was moving in I should have gotten in the regular line, and then I would have gotten to it at about the same time as
anyone who's coming into book club right now is going to be very confused.
Listen, why are you coming into book club late? What's wrong? Why were you on time for book club? It's a you problem, not a problem when you think about it.
It's actually a Coachella problem.
And I believe we can all get behind that. Actually, it's actually Golden Voice's fault. Purchase agreement. Let's see. 3-day VIP shuttle. Okay, that's it. I did it. My purchase is complete. Okay,
I can't see concert tickets being bought anymore without having like Era Tourist flashback. It's just like immediate, like
all day. I was in all day, 8 hours I spent on that, trying to make that happen. Me and one of my direct reports, we had like manager training. And she and I were both in this manager training trying to buy Eras tour tickets. Yeah, good times. Good times. Good times. Anyway, sorry for that derailment. Culture invite. Sorry, really.
It's okay. It's like this is like a hard book. Like I feel like this. I don't know if this will be the case. This for me is my surveillance capitalism.
No, I had that thought. I actually had that thought while I was reading it. That like it was reminding me of that. It was reminding me a lot of surveillance capitalism specifically because this is one of the things that I was saying when we were talking about like the theory sections of it, and like there's like a tone to the writing. I was just like, I don't know. This was very. You did some like top-notch anthropology here, my guy. Where like you got in it. You're like, okay, this is how these people write.
Like you like adopted.
You adopted the voice, the form, the setting.
That's funny.
Like I this chapter, I 100% could have been assigned this. Probably wouldn't have been assigned the whole book. I would have been assigned to that chapter. I could I know which professor would have assigned me that chapter. So like I see it, it's there. But there are like things like that are surveillance capitalism. Anyway, sorry. Yes, as you were.
No. I think that's about where I was going. Like this is like sort of my surveillance capitalism, where I feel like anything that we talk about that'll be biology related, I might at some point end up going back to this book. Or like I just at least know for me and the stuff that I write about and the things that I'm interested in, like this is a book that like will be relevant in how I think about the ways that I want to understand and write about these things going forward.
It's like the thing will find yourself turning back to and like citing yourself.
Right. Yeah. It was interesting. So I don't always look up reviews for books we read, but for this one, I did end up reading a review in the LA Review of Books that was pretty critical, but it was critical in a way that was really hard for me to understand and engage with, which is partly, I think, the fault of the review. I don't think it fully explained its ideas very well. I think it sort of assumed that it is written by someone who is I think similarly a biologist who has also been really engaged with the humanities. So I don't think that the reviewer is coming from, like, I think the reviewer is similarly really knowledgeable about both sides of this
Mhm.
book. That's at least the impression I got from reading the review. But it didn't really explain. It was very frustrated with some of the application of queer theory, and I think
Oh,
specifically like
interesting.
saying it doesn't, I think, engage with like power and stuff enough. And as someone who, like, again, has very little knowledge of
Okay.
like these theories, like I don't know how to understand that, and my frustration with the review is that I don't think it did a good job of articulating that.
Oh,
But it is like a thing that I have sort of in the back of my mind with this book, like just like that there is always the potential for these theories, because because I don't have, like, even if I go out and read these books, my reading of those books are like, now like these theory books are still going to be shaped more from
yeah,
reading this book, because I'm not like engaging with them, like especially like
yeah,
in a
yeah,
classroom or something like
yes,
that. Like I'm not getting
yes.
the full education on it.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, and there's a way of like it's the fullness of the canon, like the fullness of the canon, and the ways in which, again, to go back to like the example that I just gave of like, me getting notes about using the word performativity and like being
right.
told, "No, you can't use that word because that's like a Judith Butler word." And likewise, there's definitely, I would have to actually like sit with it, but I can for sure see the case that like you can't cite this person and not be talking about power when like
Yeah.
that's actually what their work is about. I like
Right.
and that is something that is like way more complicated than just like if you read a book, like it's not going to give you that even in the same way as like as
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's like it's interesting because I think there's an element probably of that to the biology side too, but it's just like I know the biology side, so like it's easier for me to think about the ways that I think he sometimes phrases things in a way that I don't fully agree with or stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. Like that's easier for me to engage with rather than that theory side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels nitpicky to me. It feels, I don't know, that feels
I
like
mean, I suspect that, but like it's hard for me to say. I can send you the review later because I'm curious
I'm
if
curious.
it resonates at all with you. But I yeah, I don't know. I like there are some parts of it where I was like, I think that their reading of the some of the parts of the book didn't jive with my reading of it. But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I yeah. But that's why I'm also curious if anyone else had like a negative like or critical like experience with the book. Like genuinely. Like sometimes I'm like with some books I'm like I love this book. I don't want to know. This is one of those ones where like I am like tell
Yeah,
me because I just don't know how else to like get that knowledge. Like it is like it is funny to me because it's like I feel like it goes to just like sometimes I think like I was just thinking about like this time someone asked me to like fact check like a history thing and I was just like I can't be your fact checker for a history thing. Like I like don't have the skills to like do history. Like I don't have the critical like understanding to be able to be like if I see this fact, this is what I should be like on the lookout for.
right.
And so like that's where this is like what that book feels like there for me where I'm like I really like all of these
Yeah,
ideas
yeah,
and I like the idea of applying it to biology and also I don't know how
yeah.
to engage with that part critically.
I do feel, and now I'm being unfair because I haven't actually read this review. However, I will say that there's like a tendency in this space to get to the to the point that I was just making of like, okay, well, you can't talk about this person and not talk about power because that's like the essence of their work. But
Yeah.
like because you're talking about like fundamentally like philosophical arguments, like you're talking about um uh and like people that are associated with different kinds of arguments, there's a way that sometimes people in this in that in the social sciences uh, treat certain things as objective reality in
Mm,
ways that they are maybe not.
yeah.
That's in ways that I would dispute. First of all, that's my generous way of phrasing this. The less generous way of phrasing the thing that I want to say is that sometimes it's just like pretentious bullshit to be like, well, you obviously didn't read Foucault correctly.
Yeah.
Get bent. Like
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my I don't know. I'm going into this other book review like this. So we'll see.
Yeah. I'll be excited to hear your thoughts because I have my like assumptions, but they're not like fair to social scientists and humanities people. So like it's really more just me being like, well, I think this is what's going on and I have no basis for it. And what has that ever stopped me before?
Yeah, exactly. Why would I let that stop me now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else?
We did it.
Yeah, we did it.
We did a book club, and I'm so proud of us.
Yeah.
For book clubbing.
This is like both like I feel like when it comes to books that are hard for us to talk about, this was like one of the harder ones, but like not for like the normal reasons. Like it's like usually like I think when we have a book that's hard, well, I guess like okay, we've talked about like a 3-star book is like hard to talk about. Is it a 3-star book? I forget. We've talked about before which books are hard to talk about. Like some are just like I mean some are like Empire Incorporated where we just like neither of us know what's going on and we give up and just like have no clue. This one was like harder just because I feel like we both like have the part of the book that's like very much our wheelhouse and then the other part like and maybe also just like to that point also like there's just like not as clear of a takeaway in this book as there is compared to some of the other books that we've read.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But cool. It was good. I'm glad you picked it. This was a good one.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Thanks for picking it.
You're welcome.
One of those things that, to my point, I was like where I like really misunderstood. I did do what I said I would do last time though, and do a little like my run up to this. This book wasn't what I expected it to be, but that doesn't mean that I actually don't regret my little reading project. So I reread Up to Speed, and then I read Fair Play by Katie Barnes, which I highly recommend. It was great. Fair Play is about. It's why the why sports have become such a battleground in like the trans debate is what it's about.
Yeah.
And I do actually think that there's the through line isn't as clear as I was expecting it to be, but it is still there because of the ways in which like the Katie Barnes book is also talking about is doing a lot of like this shit is not as clean as you think it is. As people talk about it like it's clean and like the binary is binary and it's simply not. And so there's a way in which that like did get me from like there to here. Just not quite the way that I thought it would, but and I would highly, highly recommend Fair Play. But now it's time for us to reveal our next book.
Yeah.
Doing a repeat author, guys. It's my first repeat author. Original Sins, The Miseducation of Black and Native Children and the Construction of American Racism by E.Val Ewing. Michelle Alexander says this book will transform the way you see this country. Will it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think I see now.
It is not good.
Listen. Anyway, so tune in next time. You should subscribe to our mailing list or join the Discord because those places will tell you where we'll do it on YouTube channel, but when is the critical thing that we'll give you later. But that's the one.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.